Slavoj, you've been extremely generous with your time.
I'm really grateful to you, because in these times, where, again, just to let you know my position, my God, listen, I engage a lot. And listen, in the States, we already talked about it. I follow this line of, I'm saying something wrong. Are you friendly with him? Thomas Frank.
Oh, yeah. Thomas
Yes,
Frank.
he put it, that's my problem with political correctness, that instead of proposing some kind of large popular unity, like you have all those small farmers, blah, 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 they're conservative. Don't focus on that. Focus on, I don't know, different tax distribution, healthcare, blah, 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 all that. There are so many topics where we could mobilize them. And what political correctness is doing, it's true. I'm becoming a Stalinist. It's a sabotage. It's precisely doing everything possible to prevent any broad popular coalition.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should say, oh, we are strategically against abortion.
No. You don't have to.
We remain here what we are.
You don't have to give an inch on the policy issues.
On goals,
Yeah. You don't have to give an inch on the policy issues. You can say that of course, anti-discrimination for gay and trans people, of course, abortion rights, all of that stuff. But but you can do that. You can do that without leading into this kind of alienating culture war.
And also, don't you agree that how to put it? I think this is a false choice, either radical revolution or concrete, realist, pragmatic measures. Why either or? Why not? Let's do what we can, but at the same time, make it clear all the time that this can maybe alleviate the passage, but that the moment will come when things will change, where a much more radical intervention will be needed. We are aware of this, but again, I find it too easy to say, so let's then just sit down and wait for that big moment. No?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I think you have to, it's also absurd to think that you're going to be able to get people to sign on to a radical revolutionary political movement if you can't show them any successes, if you can't say, like, here's what we've already achieved, and look at what we could achieve in the future. If you just sort of say, oh, well, all reforms are just, they're just nothing, they don't matter, they don't, like nothing has ever gotten better, if nothing has ever gotten better, if no reform matters, then then why should anybody bother with any of this? I mean, if you haven't succeeded, if you haven't I don't know, maybe the metaphor wouldn't translate, but put points on the board, right? If you don't have here are some past successes we've already achieved, and look, we could go even further.
That's where I read a very good liberal comment, but which says it is as if the left likes so much to retell its history of from one failure to another. Yes, there are defeats like this Supreme Court abortion, blah, blah, blah. But nonetheless, look, LGBT, gay rights, and so on. This was a big success, generally. I mean, a big success in the sense that the broad public accepted this. Mm-hmm. If you oppose it, you are not mainstream. You are dismissed as a crazy neocon and so on. So let's also be proud by some of our moderate successes. And of course, for the radical leftists, this is prohibited to say. Listen, it was as always a pleasure. And again, I hope it's not the last time. And now I finish with a question for you. After your, this comedians, blah, blah, great book, This is one of the books that, a bad joke, because we live in non-ironic times. I hope it will not hurt you, but as I would have put it, if we were to have, me and you, a nice Stalinist dictatorship with us in power, your book, Comedians and so on, would be printed in millions of examples and given to all schools, to all pupils for free, and so on. It's so important book. So is there a next one coming?
Yeah. So right now I'm working on a very different book. So I'm working on a book with that's co-written with Bhaskar, who we talked about, and also our friend Mike Beggs, who's an economics professor, called the Blueprint, which is it's for Verso. It's an attempt to sort of think through what a realistically imaginable post-capitalist society could actually look like. Would you still have to have some markets? How would they work? Like all of that stuff. So the title is kind of a way of there's this Marxist tradition of saying don't do blueprints, for the future, because things will sort of emerge from that. It's all like the old society is already pregnant with the new one. All you have to do is help it, to get.
No, I agree with you. Precisely, this is not happening. Did I tell you? We'll talk about that. How is he called? Geertz, a German leftist. No, at many points I don't agree with him, but he said a wonderful thing. He said that the Marxist idea was always, when capitalism will disintegrate, it will already contain the seeds of a new society. And he says what's happening today is that capitalism is just disintegrating,
Yeah.
more chaotic, but where are the seeds of the new?
No, exactly. I think that it's wishful thinking. I think you turns out, that you have to, like, if you're going to be serious about the defeats of socialism in the 20th century, which and by the way, I mean, I'm not somebody who thinks that there's like nothing positive about that experience.
Oh, no. To be honest, I also, first, even in China, okay, horrible things, Mao, many dead, but my God, China is a big, strong state, economically developed, and so on. They did some kind of a miracle there.
Yeah.
And also in other ex-communist parties, it's not as simple as that. The result is just a pure catastrophe. I
don't think it's a pure catastrophe. I think there are positive lessons as well as negative ones. But also, I think if actually, here, I wonder what you think of putting it this way: that they have there's a tradition among some Western Marxists of saying, well, the problem with like the Soviet Union, for example, was just that the only problem with the Soviet Union was the lack of democracy, and if they'd only had that, if there'd only been real workers control the means of production, then it would have worked just fine. And I think that strikes me as kind of delusional, because I think that,
absolutely, yes.
Because you could, I mean, if you sort of imagine, you start out with the way that the Soviet economy was actually structured, and you sort of layer in democracy on top of that, right? So you imagine that, maybe you have multi-party elections and free press and all of that stuff, and that like whatever party wins a majority and forms a government and appoints the head of Goshplan and plans the economy. Okay, I'm sure that would have been better in various ways, that you wouldn't have had things like the Ukrainian famine in the 30s. But even so, I don't really think that the sort of day-to-day frustrations of Soviet consumers at the grocery store would have been any different, in that scenario. Like it would have been like, that wouldn't have helped. And then I know some people will say, no, but I'm not just talking about some like Western parliamentary kind of democracy. I really mean like, bottom up grassroots, like really radical, democracy. And then
but I always ask them, okay, give me a model of this. Where did it already happen?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. And also, like, to the extent that I can imagine what that's like. I mean, look, I have, I don't have a full-time teaching position anymore. I just do this stuff for the most part and just teach a little
Mhm.
bit part-time. But what I used to, right? I used to have to go to I had a job at Yonsei University for 2 years where I had to go to faculty meetings every month
Mhm.
and, by, like, sometimes these meetings, if they drag on to 2 hours, 3 hours, I mean, I wanted to shoot myself by an hour and a half into them, like, I was so bored, going to this meeting,
Mhm.
and I imagine I I sort of hear people talk about radical, direct, participatory, democracy for the body, and, like, I start to think, "Okay, how many hours of my life am I gonna have to spend going to meetings
Yes,
in the
yes, yes,
society
yes,
that you're
yes,
describing?"
yes, yes.
Like,
These are quite naive but very serious problems. These are the
yeah.
big problems. Yes.
Yeah, no, exactly, and, like, and that doesn't mean that I think that we don't need more democratic
When will
accountability.
that book? Is it already written?
No, it's being written right now. It's partially written. So
Well,
I hope.
please, when you can, send me manuscript.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron exclusive post games on Monday nights, all of the patron exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.